Hello and welcome to You Skipped That, a podcast where we, two friends, introduce each other to movies that the other one hasn't seen before. We've noticed that we've got some gaps in our resumes and we're trying to fill them in for the listening public. I'm Dan Clark.
And I'm Alex Grace.
And this week we watched a movie of mine, because Alex had never seen the movie Gravity.
Yes, I have never seen the movie Mavity.
Mavity, yes. Get the Doctor Who jokes out of the way early.
That's the only time I'll make that reference. I'm sorry.
We cannot promise that. We cannot promise that. But yeah, it's a 2013 movie starring Sandra Bullock and George Clooney, directed by Alfonso Cuarón. I think that's how you pronounce it. I saw this movie back in 2013 in the theater twice. Once with my dad, once with my wife. And I've seen it a couple times since then. I'm a fan, or we wouldn't be doing this. What do you think, Alex?
I liked it. It was a bit more intense than I usually go for.
Yeah, it is that.
Found myself gripping the arms of your armchair a couple of times, like I was the one flying through space.
Yeah.
It's like, what's holding me to the earth? What's holding me to the earth? Oh, right, the title of the movie.
Right.
Gravity is holding me to the earth.
Yeah, there's really very little gravity in this movie, considering it's called Gravity. Yeah it's all in...
Well, we're going to get real nerdy for a second. Technically, there is still gravity at the point they're at. It's just not enough to pull you to the ground.
It's very low gravity.
Like, hence the space station's coming down.
Yeah. It's very low gravity, such the sense there's not much. I didn't say there isn't any.
Okay, fair.
I'm technically correct, which is the best kind of correct.
All right. So far, we've referenced Doctor Who and Futurama.
And we are 2 minutes in, so there you go.
That's impressive.
We're getting some mileage out of it. Yeah, small cast on this one. Do you know who the surprise third big name actor in this movie is?
I do not.
Ground Control.
Yeah?
Was Ed Harris.
Huh.
Yeah.
That tracks.
Yep.
Yeah, like now thinking about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I can get that.
Yeah, I didn't get it the first time, and then I read that. I'm like, of course that's him. If you watch it again, I don't know if you will, but it's very clearly him. He's not doing any sort of voice. But it's mostly a one-woman movie.
Yeah.
George Clooney's not in a ton of it. He's in a chunk of it.
He's in enough to make an impact.
Yeah, to be an important part of the movie.
Right.
But, yeah, it's mostly Sandra Bullock.
Yeah, it is Sandra Bullock's movie, and she carries it.
She does.
Hard.
Yeah. It's a small wonder that she's won Best Actress before at the Academy Awards, but it wasn't for this. That's kind of a small wonder. She does a lot of heavy lifting in this movie.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I felt very desperate throughout this whole movie, and she was bringing me there.
Yep. I joked with you before the podcast that I'd watched one of the trailers this morning, and it's basically just Sandra Bullock in distress.
Yeah, Sandra Bullock in distress,
and
the
that's
movie.
Pretty much the whole movie. Yeah. Just one unfortunate event. It's a series of unfortunate events.
I thought a great subtitle, Gravity, Dr. Ryan Stone and the horrible, terrible, absolutely no good day.
Terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day.
Thank you.
Yep. After the Alexander book, and I think they made a movie out of it, but yeah, that was a big one when I was a kid, so I don't know why that's something I can't...
Naturally, it stuck with me because the character's name is Alexander.
Well, yeah.
So, I'm like, well, hey, it's got my name on it, so it can't be all bad.
The movie's about a mission in space. For those of you who don't know, it was a big movie back in 2013, but I don't know how well it's stuck in public consciousness. I certainly always remembered it. But yeah, it's about a mission in space, a routine mission. It's almost not even...
Yeah, they're changing up parts on the Hubble Space Telescope.
Yeah, they're talking about they would be home tomorrow. It's a very routine mission, but Sandra Bullock's character, Ryan Stone, is inexperienced. It's her first mission, and she doesn't seem like she'd be terribly keen on going back up there.
Well, and she's a mission specialist, which means she's kind of the geek they have to bring along.
Right.
The scientist they have to bring along to make the parts work.
Mm-hmm.
Not a pro astronaut who's like, yeah, space.
Right. I don't think she's signing up for the next one, though.
Right.
You find someone else if you want to do something else with this equipment. The Russians blow up one of their satellites for reasons that are just intentionally left kind of vague, and it causes the debris to hit other satellites and create this wave circling the Earth that's just ripping everything to shreds. And
I've never been so scared of trash.
everyone else on the team gets killed very quickly.
Yep.
And Matt Kowalski, played by George Clooney, and Ryan Stone have to find a way back to Earth. And that's the plot. It's a tight 90 minutes. It's just, we got to get home. And everything is going to go wrong along the way.
Yes.
It's intense.
It's very intense.
It's compelling. You really, you don't have a whole lot of time to get to know these characters before disaster hits. But I feel for them.
Right.
I mean, it's hard not to feel for George Clooney and Sandra Bullock. They're just incredibly charismatic actors anyways. But yeah, at least I personally, I'm immediately on board with these characters.
Oh yeah, it's like, okay, let's get home. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, we got to do this.
We got to do it.
And when bad stuff happens to them, I feel it.
The movie does a great job of putting you... There's a couple of scenes that are even in first person, just to kind of put you in their shoes. And I was very uncomfortable during all of those scenes.
Right. As well as all the third-person scenes as well.
No, really, the third-person ones kind of got me. The first-person ones, I could feel, claustrophobia setting in. I could feel oh, those pieces of space junk are coming at me.
The movie, we didn't watch it in 3D. We don't have the capability for that.
I don't even know if they make 3D TVs anymore.
I don't know. This is, I saw this, like I said, twice in the theater, and both times it was in 3D. It was really hard to find it in theaters not in 3D.
That's 2013 for you.
Yeah. Well, it's one of the few movies that I ever saw in 3D that I really felt benefited from it. Like when the International Space Station is coming apart, at some point, trash is kind of coming at the screen, and at least the first time I saw it, I think both times I saw it, just instinctively dodged out of the way. Not hitting the floor, but I kind of went to the side a little bit.
It's way funnier to imagine you hitting the floor. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm just hearing a yelp and ah. Oh, right.
I don't go low very easily.
No, and
not an athletic man.
The funniest part about that is Dan is just a very cool customer, so it's really comical to imagine this out of character just ah.
That's me. Yeah. I don't know that I've ever been called a cool customer before. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'll take
You're
that.
welcome.
I appreciate the compliment. Yeah, it's one of the few movies that I saw in 3D, and I saw a few that I liked. I really appreciated the 3D, and we'll talk more about that.
Yeah,
later.
We'll save that for the end.
That was a fad, but it benefited this movie in that it's just, there's a lot of stuff moving around. There's a lot of depth to it. You can really feel like this trash is getting closer to you in a very threatening way. But what are your thoughts? I'm talking a lot about this movie that I already established I liked a lot.
My first thought was I barely had time to think during this movie.
Yeah.
And any time I did, I was a little bit sad. They hit you with the emotions in this movie hard, and it works in its favor. Right. it's not like schmaltzy or anything. It's
yeah, it never feels ham-fisted or anything like that.
And I guess part of it is just the insanity of the situation they find themselves in. Is it's so much bigger than anything you could ever experience on Earth, while simultaneously they're the only people being affected by it. I think they said everyone down on Earth probably lost Facebook for the day.
Yeah.
But in space, this is 2,000 car accidents at the same time.
It's horrific. These people are never going to be the same again.
Right.
And with those emotional beats, something as simple as Sandra Bullock sitting there talking to someone who she doesn't speak the same language as.
Yes.
That was a heartbreaking scene. It's a scene where she's
Tink.
Yeah. It's a scene where she's gotten to some form of safety and she's trying to get in touch. Part of the danger is they can't get in touch with ground control. They can't get in touch with Houston.
Right.
And she gets a voice on the radio and she thinks it's someone who can save her, and it turns out that it's just some guy with a shortwave radio who's sitting at just the right place where the frequency can get through and doesn't speak the language. I don't even know what language he's speaking.
I didn't either.
Just in the subtitles say native language. And she talks and she bonds with him a little bit over the fact that he has dogs that she can hear in the background and a baby and all of that. It's a scene that, like, on paper, it seems like, will this really play? But she sells it.
Absolutely.
It's very, very...
Doggone it. That's 2 in really short.
Yep.
Short stretch.
Yep. But it really resonates because Sandra Bullock sells it. So at any point in the movie, because I've been known even just so far on this to throw you movies that are just like, this is what we're doing for the next 2 hours. You know, welcome to Lucky Number 11. We're gonna have like 4 murders, brutal murders in the first 10 minutes. At any point, did you think, well, this is obviously the kind of movie Dan's gonna show me? She's dead. Like,
the nice thing going into this movie is, if you know anything about this movie, you know what's kind of the general idea. It's like Sandra Bullock suffers in space. That's the general idea. So it's no shock to me when bad things happen right out of the gate. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is how the suffering begins. The main thing that kind of hit me with it was I wasn't expecting it to happen quite so fast. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not even 5 minutes into the movie, and it's like, gas pedal.
Yep. Here's the trash.
Yeah, here's the space trash. But, once that gets going, you're kind of prepped. It's like, oh, this is going to be one of those movies. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not going to take a lot of breaks.
Yeah.
We're just going to go from one horrible thing to the next. There are a couple of times where the story hangs on her being an inexperienced astronaut. Mm-hmm. The whole time you're like, oh, she's going to do the thing, and then the thing is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, you can see it coming from a mile away.
Fire extinguisher?
That one, the capsule and the parachute.
Uh-huh.
As soon as she got on and I saw where the parachute was, I was like, oh yeah, she's going to hit the gas and that thing's going to go yoink.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened. But then it was way more interesting than I expected. That was probably actually the most terrified I was during the whole movie. That's when I was gripping the arms, was every time that thing passed, like, within inches of the space station, I'm like, it's going to hit it, and this is going to get so much worse. And then it doesn't.
It's one of the few times in the movie where you're like, oh, wow, that could have gone worse. Like,
yeah, you're like, oh.
Not as bad as I expected.
Okay, that wasn't as bad as I expected.
Yeah.
And then the trash shows up again.
And things get worse.
I think really the trash is actually the big co-star of the movie. Don't get me wrong, George Clooney's great.
Yeah.
But, like, the entire, like, threat of this movie is just a cloud of space trash.
It's kind of like the T-Rex in Jurassic Park. It's not a real thing. It's all CG or
model making.
Yeah, model making in the case of parts of Jurassic Park. But that's what you're always thinking about.
Mm-hmm. And then when it shows up, you're like, oh man, no. Here we go again. Aw, dip dog.
90 minutes already?
It is hilarious that the whole movie is 90 minutes, and yet somehow the 90 minutes that it takes for the space trash to come around happens 3 times. So it's weird that the movie is the length of time between
one of
those.
Them. Yeah.
It was kind of a weird, unintentional, probably, mirroring.
I don't know. Cuarón does a lot of clever stuff.
Yeah.
It could have been. I can see him going into the editing being when this needs to be a flat 90 minutes.
Yeah. Because then you get out of it and you're like, oh, that's how long it was just that long.
Yep. And since it comes around, we get the first time and then one time in the middle and then another time towards the end. So the entire movie, the time that Sandra Bullock was in space is about double the time of the movie.
And really, it's not cutting out much when you think about it.
No, they cut out a couple things that are
travel time. Really, that's about it.
Yeah.
We don't need to see George Clooney and Sandra Bullock floating through space and George Clooney just asking those inane, keep you awake questions.
And yet at the same time, like, he brings it in this movie. So, like, I want to hear about the little hairy man in Mardi Gras.
That is my big complaint from this movie, is we're never going to hear the end of that story.
Never.
Because he goes, and he was and then space trash shows up.
Yep.
And it's like, doggone it, that actually, of all the stories he told, is the one I'm most interested in hearing the end of.
Yeah, George Clooney's character, part of the way he kind of deals with stress and everything, he tells stories. Stress, uncomfortable silence, comfortable silence. He'll interject a story into anything.
And he always starts with, Houston, I've got a bad feeling about this. Kind of like the bad feeling I had in Mardi Gras in 1987. That tickled me.
Yeah, and Houston's always like, no, we've heard that story. Even engineering, especially engineering. They've all heard that story. You don't need to tell it again.
Tell me if you think I'm crazy.
Okay.
But is this movie kind of about her rebirth from everything that went wrong, the tragic backstory stuff, which I'll leave kind of down low, because I think it's better if you watch this movie and you don't know about that.
She has suffered loss. You don't need to know anything more than that.
Yeah, like, she's going up into space a pretty empty person. There's a scene on the space station where she's, like, kind of floating around.
In the fetal position. Yeah.
And it kind of just looks like an ultrasound kind of thing.
Yeah, that was intentional.
And then the last scene of the movie, like, spoiler alert, Sandra Bullock makes it, okay? that one I'm okay with spoiling.
Right.
Like, I knew that going into the movie. Like, I think I'd remembered reading something about, well, here's where she landed. I'm like, well, I don't know if I'm going to watch that movie, but...
Right.
Okay.
I think the first time I saw it, when she turned the oxygen off, I was like, I mean, is this how they're going to end the movie?
I thought that, too. I'm not going to lie. But the last scene of the movie is her learning how to walk again. And I'm like, there's a deep underlying story here.
Yeah, symbolism and all of that. A lot of the movie is very visual.
Very. It's beautiful.
It's a beautiful movie, but it also makes it hard to, like, oh yeah, like, there's a scene and she's floating there and she's kind of in the fetal position and all that.
I think everybody can imagine that, though.
Yeah, it was also on a lot of the posters.
Yeah, it is truly a stunning movie. My hat's off to everybody who worked on it. It is, from beginning to end, like, anytime you could hit pause and there's a poster you can hang on the wall.
Right. And that first shot of the movie, I don't know how well you notice stuff like this, but the first shot of the movie is like 12 minutes long. From the moment that it comes up on Earth, it does not cut until she sees the guy that died in space.
Wow, I didn't notice that.
That's the first cut.
I noticed it went for a while.
Yeah, it's like a 12 and a half minute long shot.
Wow.
Cuarón loves long shots. Huh. There were a couple others that were pretty lengthy shots, and a lot of it was done on green screen. A lot of what you're seeing was not there on the inside of the space station is what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Obviously, space was not.
About to say, you mean they didn't film this movie in space?
There's a few times it looks like they might have.
Right.
But no filming in space. But like on the space International Space Station, all that, a lot of that stuff is still not there. And so as she's reaching out and grabbing stuff and touching stuff and grabbing onto handles, moving on, she's just on like a gimbal or something, and had to just learn this elaborate choreography as she's moving through this.
So cool.
Yeah. And even down to whenever you watch it again, obviously some of the CG is just a little bit like on some of the more floaty items, like the straps that are holding them together. There's times it doesn't look entirely real, but like right at the beginning when they're doing routine work, you see Sandra Bullock keeps like batting the cable out of her way. In just a very simple little, she's not making a big deal. It's not like she's trying to get rid of a mosquito that's flying around her. So it's a very kind of easy kind of bat out of the way, but it's not there.
Yeah.
So she had to know, okay, so I'm going to do this and do this and do this, and I have to bat the cable out of the way, the tether out of the way, and then I'm going to do this and this and this, and bat the tether out of the way again, and just, everything was so carefully choreographed without anything there for her to actually react to, which is incredible the more that you think about it when you're watching it, which I was, because I knew how the movie ended.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is funny when you go back and rewatch something.
Yeah.
You can kind of pick up on more stuff. Because you're not going, well, what's going to happen next? I mean, I really did enjoy it. It got my heart pounding a little bit. Had me grabbing the arms of the chair again, like I said. But, it made me feel things. And as a big space kid, as a kid, just space was my thing,
Mine too.
I went through the vague dinosaurs phase that every kid goes through. I went through the trains phase. but I settled on space.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, space is number one.
Yeah, I wanted to be an astronaut.
I went through a brief period of that too.
It didn't pan out. As we said earlier, me hitting the ground for anything is just not a big thing. For physical reasons as well as emotional reasons. Yeah, I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid, and watching this movie, I've never been so glad that I let a dream die.
Same.
Yeah.
Same.
I got some trivia here.
Oh, yes, please. Trivia. Love the trivia.
The two main roles, neither of those actors were the first choice. There were lots of people who were considered. The two that almost got it, Stone was almost Angelina Jolie.
Okay.
But she had other commitments, including do you remember the movie Salt?
I vaguely remember.
Where she was like a sleeper agent or whatnot.
Yeah.
At the time, they were going to make a second one, and they never did. It was an interesting movie. It's not showing up on this show. And then Kowalski was going to be Robert Downey Jr.
That's interesting.
It would have been a different movie.
Would have been a different movie, but oddly, I think it still would have been great.
A few other people who were in consideration for Stone, Blake Lively, Marion Cotillard, I think that's how you pronounce it. Naomi Watts, Natalie Portman was not able to do it. I think it's because she was pregnant. She hadn't announced it yet, but yeah, she turned out to be pregnant. Olivia Wilde, Rachel Weisz, and Scarlett Johansson.
All good choices.
All would have been good, but I'm glad they went with
Me too. I think Sandra Bullock brought something special to it, for sure.
And then other characters for Kowalski, Bruce Willis.
Okay.
Daniel Craig. Denzel Washington.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah.
I like Denzel.
Harrison Ford.
You've been awfully old for an astronaut. No offense, Mr. Ford.
Yeah. John Travolta. Russell Crowe. Tom Cruise. So it was almost another repeat. And Tom Hanks.
There you go.
But I guess he figured he'd already done a space disaster movie.
I mean, to be fair, so is Bruce Willis.
True. Tom Hanks has done a good one, though.
Oh, dang.
Armageddon is okay.
Dang.
Apollo 13 is really, really good, though.
Yeah, Apollo 13 is definitely better than Armageddon.
Yeah.
But
have you seen Apollo 13?
Apollo 13.
Cool. That will not make it on the list, though. One other person, and I was reading this off to my wife last night, and she said, you have to tell the story with this guy.
Okay.
Can you guess who I have a story about that might have played Kowalski?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can see where this is going.
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner.
So the short story here, I went to a movie back when I was in high school. I went with my dad. And it was us in the theater, and it was two other people. I don't know why I remember this. It was Mission Impossible 2.
That's not relevant at all to this story, but okay.
It's also, I would say, the worst Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the new one, but
I've heard it's good.
Yeah, pretty good. But before the movie, they had the slideshow where it was like games, like, hey, we're going to show you a still from a movie, and you got to tell us what movie it's from, or here's a quote, you got to tell us what the movie it's from, or we're going to fill in the blanks or whatnot. And one of them was the images that you put them together and they spell an actor's name, and it was K, and then a picture of like a heavenly scene, and then a picture of space and the letter E. It was Kevin Spacey. And so we're sitting there, and I look up at it, and it's not even the first time it's been up there. And I go, oh, yeah, okay, cool, Kevin Spacey. And there's a guy in front of us, one of the, this older couple. The guy goes, it's Kevin Costner. And the wife goes, it's not, how is that Kevin Costner? He's like, I don't know, but it's the only Kevin I know, so it's got to be Kevin Costner. And then it popped up Spacey, and they went, And then they just moved on. But it was just like a very quiet theater, and all of a sudden, it's Kevin Costner. So now anytime I see Kevin Costner, I'm looking at the audio levels on that. I'm sorry, people.
Yeah.
I tried even looking away from the microphone, but this is not as
I apologize for your ears, folks.
Kevin Costner. There we go.
But yeah. Yep, that's an oldie but a goodie.
Yep.
For the audience, it's a brand new one.
Brand new story. Yeah. There you go. Now you know my not terribly interesting Kevin Costner movie.
I think it's pretty funny.
It's not interesting, but it's entertaining.
It's amusing.
I hope. But yeah, those are the ones that almost made it.
Kind of aside here, I miss those trivia slides and stuff.
I do too.
No hate to Maria Menounos. And What's Newsy.
Right.
Not sponsored.
Unless you want
hey
to.
Maria, call my people.
There you go.
My people are me. But I really did enjoy those like stupid trivia things interspersed with really poorly made local ads.
Yeah, we still get a couple of the. I guess we don't really get local ads anymore. At least not at
as
our local
much.
theater.
No,
Yeah.
not at our local theater. But yeah, I remembered there'd be like this cheesy ad for a dentist's office, and the audio was always terrible.
I know exactly what you. I almost said it, but
Yeah. But yeah, you know exactly what ad I'm referring to. We had that one. Every once in a while, we'd have one for like a local restaurant or something.
Yeah.
But it was just something funny. Every once in a while, you'd see somebody you knew on the big screen.
Right.
Be like, hey, that's my dental hygienist on the big screen checking out that random kid's mouth.
Yeah. It's kind of like
it's pretty cool.
A local car place has bought a bunch of YouTube ads recently, and it's always freaks me out when I'm sitting there watching on like Game Grumps or something like that, and it stops, and there's a guy that sold me a car like 10 years ago. Like, you're not supposed to be here.
Yeah, you're not
This
supposed
is only
to be
for
on
like,
YouTube.
yeah. A little more trivia.
Yeah.
This was the first George Clooney movie outside of the Ocean's franchise to pass $100 million since The Perfect Storm 13 years earlier.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of qualifiers on that one. It won 7 Academy Awards, the most of any movie in the entire decade.
Wow.
It didn't win like the big flash ones, but it won a lot of the special effects and sound design, which
makes sense.
Which was incredible in this. I'll circle back around on that.
And I have notes on that too.
The scene where George Clooney comes back.
Yes.
It was not originally in the script, I guess. Cuarón could not figure out how to make that scene work. It's a scene where Sandra Bullock's character realizes how she's going to keep moving, both emotionally and physically. And she gets it by having a hallucination. And it was George Clooney's idea of like, I don't know, why don't I just show up and knock on the window and,
Roll down the window. Roll down the window.
That's almost what he does.
Yeah. Hit that button.
It was his idea, and I guess he wrote the scene. A little back and forth
That's
between
cool.
them. Which is why it feels a little bit different,
Yeah.
but in a good way, because it is someone else's idea of what he would be saying. So
That's kind of cool. It does have a certain snappiness to it.
yeah, that you'd expect from George Clooney.
Absolutely.
There you
Tink.
go. That's
Man,
third.
I'm three.
And I don't think I've gotten
You're
a single
cleaning up tonight.
sound design. I hear you have something to say about the sound design.
I have
which
things
is
to say about
which is
the
a
sound
sentence I
design.
never thought that I'd say.
Right?
Yeah. Tell me about the sound design and your thoughts on it.
My thoughts on the sound design. I have a bone to pick with a certain sound
Okay.
that movies love to use. A little background on me. I have a little bit of anxiety. Mm-hmm. There is one thing that triggers me above all else,
Okay.
and it is that fake ear ringing sound.
Yeah, they
Like-
use that a bit.
That is so upsetting to my brain for some reason, and they kept going back to that well. Like, every time she was stressed out, it was like, "Ee," and I'm like, okay, this is happening.
It's okay. We're okay.
We're okay.
Nobody panic. Nobody panic.
Yeah. It's kind of like my brain goes, I only hear that sound when something bad is going on, so something bad's going on, right? And I'm like, yeah, but not to us.
Right.
We're fine. Dan's dog is asleep on the floor over there. We're fine.
Yeah, if Tally's not freaking out, you don't need to freak out. My dog also has issues with anxiety. So, she's a good pup, though.
Very good pup.
Best pup. But other than that, with the sound design, the fact that in space there really is no sound. Mm-hmm. The only sound that you hear when they're in space is when they're interacting with something. It's kind of like underwater, that real muffled kind of sound.
That was cool. I liked that. Especially the wrenches.
The wrenches.
The power wrench.
Yeah, or when they just, something bumps into them, it sounds like, you're in you have your head stuck in a fish tank. And
it sounds like it's made of foam or something hitting them, even though it's, steel.
Right. And then the sound comes back full force when they are inside the space station or wherever they are. Anytime they're in some place with some kind of artificial or actual atmosphere, there is sound.
Yeah.
That comes back in a very natural way. So I loved that idea. It was executed really well, and it won them an Oscar for it. So
yeah. It felt like you were in space. Mm-hmm. Good or bad, you felt like you were in space.
It does have that feeling of, it's the most, I don't really like the word, but I'm trying to think of a better one. The most immersive space movie I think I've ever seen. It really feels like you're there.
Yeah.
It does that.
I'd agree.
Does that very well without being too beat you over the head with it. Like there is no sound, like you don't hear, the trash colliding with and ripping apart the International Space Station, but at no point does George Clooney go, it's always kind of weird, I always was thrown off by the fact that you can't hear any of this stuff, but in space there's no atmosphere, so
right.
They never feel like they need to point it out. It's just there.
I'm gonna, pull out my nerd card here for a second, but
okay.
I always loved that on Battlestar Galactica.
Mm-hmm.
Because they always had like the big space battle scenes, and they were always silent, which I thought was really cool.
Firefly did the same thing.
Yeah.
In the
fun fact, same special effects company.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. The rare events that they actually had something outside. I think the first time, no, not the first time you see Mal, but first present day time that you see Mal, they're blowing a lock on the outside of something, salvaging something, but yeah, Firefly. Love Firefly.
Yeah, so. We did not skip it. Neither should you.
No, if you haven't seen Firefly, it's 13 episodes in a movie. So
yeah,
I think it's 13,
something like that.
Less than 20 episodes, single season, short season, but yeah, worth it.
Absolutely. Think, man, this has been a bad night. Absolutely.
For you there, yeah. Any other thoughts?
Not really. It's a good movie. I liked it.
Yeah, I was watching a trailer. I was reading stuff about this so I could have extra stuff to talk, and I was like, man, I haven't seen this movie in forever. I cannot wait to watch it. And I was reading the Wikipedia page. I'm like, I cannot wait for tonight when I get to watch this movie. And then I watched the trailer, and I was like, oh my god, Alex is gonna hate this.
There were times where I'm like, this is not fun. This is bad.
It was one of the scenes where Sandra's floating,
flailing in space,
floating down the side of something and reaching out desperately, trying to grab something and not finding anything. Like
gasping for air.
Alex is not going to have fun with this one.
Yeah,
I still think it
had moments, but overall, as soon as it was over, I had a minute to just kind of collect myself, use the bathroom, get some water.
Yeah,
and I was like, you know what, that was kind of fun.
Yeah,
I'm not going to go out and watch it again tomorrow, but
it's a ride.
I could see myself watching that again.
Now you have not skipped that.
Now I have not skipped that. Do you want to talk about 3D movies anymore? Or?
Oh, 3D movies, yeah. I'm trying to think. The first 3D movie that I saw without, like, the red and blue on it,
right,
more modern, was Avatar, which did a lot of work with how deep everything was, as opposed to stuff flying at you. And I was really impressed. Still am. I have other feelings on the Avatar franchise, but the 3D was executed well.
Yeah.
And it was really pretty. Other than that, whatever. But a friend wanted to go see Clash of the Titans. Mm-hmm. Also Sam Worthington.
Yeah.
I hadn't realized that until now, but same guy. And I said, dude, 3D is completely different than what we used to think it was. This is showing in 3D. I'll buy your ticket, like, if we'll do it in 3D.
Yeah.
And we went and saw it, and it was trash. At the end, like, nothing. It was one of those that was converted to 3D afterwards.
Yep.
And the only scene where I noticed anything was towards the end when the Kraken is out.
Yeah.
Like, some of the tentacles looked closer than other stuff.
When the Kraken had been released.
Release the Kraken. And so I almost didn't go see this movie in 3D because it's like, I'm not falling for that again.
You got my money once, big studios. You're not getting it twice.
But like I said, it was really, really hard to find it anywhere not in 3D.
And that was really common in, like, 2013 or so. There were maybe, like, 2 3D showings for every 2D showing.
Yeah.
At best.
But this one, like, they weren't even doing the 2D showings at most movie theaters.
That's crazy.
I think it was released with the intent, like, you have to show this in 3D. It's the best way to see it. And I went and saw it. Like, that was incredible. I was almost fooled again. In fact, I ended up going to see Toy Story 3 in 3D. Yeah, it would have been 3. But I didn't see 4 in theaters, and 2 wasn't released in 3D. And again, it was just kind of like,
it was fun.
I guess that side of the daycare center looks further away than this side of the daycare center. I guess.
Yeah.
That car does look like it drove further away from me, I guess. But I'm glad that it's a fad that went away, but I'm glad that it was around at the right time for this movie.
Right. I'm glad that it's still around from time to time, because, I mean, most big blockbuster movies you can still get in 3D if you want.
Yeah.
Kind of my first and one of my only real experiences with 3D in movies. I went to see Captain America, the First Avenger in 3D.
I think I might have seen that in 3D.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And for most of the movie, I was like, I mean, this is fine. I've seen some stuff fly at me. There's been some stuff with some depth. But the part that made me just kind of stop and go, okay, 3D's the real deal now, is the train scene. Mm-hmm. The first shot of that where they're standing up on the cliff looking down at the train. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm up on this cliff.
You're looking into a window.
Looking down at the train.
Yeah.
It's like, this is cool.
The problem I always had with it, first off, I wear glasses.
Yeah.
Which kind of messes with wearing any 3D glasses. They don't really fit well over them. They make them sit further away from your eyes, so you can see a lot of peripheral stuff that kind of ruins the illusion. But another problem I had with it is anytime they try to do something flying at you, like at some point it reaches the edge of the screen and it looked like it was getting closer to me, but there's something here that's cutting it off. So
right.
That was never a good illusion. I did see the original House of Wax with Vincent Price from like the 50s. There's a theater close by that used to show old movies, and they did that around Halloween, and it was in the original 3D, and they gave you little red and blue
nice
3D glasses, and they did a lot of the gimmicks. One of the best uses of it was they were opening this great wax museum, and they had a guy there with like paddle balls to kind of attract attention, and he kept knocking them out towards the audience, and it did look like it was coming out at you, and as much as it can when you're kind of vaguely aware that everything's red and blue.
Yeah.
But immediately after that, it had Vincent Price, whose character opens the museum, talking with one of the investors. He goes, "Do you really need to get the paddleball guy out here for this?" And Vincent Price goes, "I know. It's such a cheap gimmick, but it really brings people in."
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. I wish that place would open back up, but yeah. Anyways. Any other thoughts, or should we get to the socials?
I think it's time to go ahead and get to the socials. So, on the social media, you can find us on Facebook if you just search the words "You Skipped That" on
Easy enough.
Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, I'm not calling it X, and Threads. We're just at You Skipped That. Right now, haven't posted a lot on Twitter or Threads. I'm trying to figure out how this translates to words. Videos and pictures is easy. Words is hard.
Mm-hmm. So hard that
I heard it. I heard it.
I got it.
It's fine. And you can also find all of these episodes on YouTube.
Awesome.
Yeah, just the words "You Skipped That." Type that into YouTube. You'll get there.
Don't worry, you don't have to look at our faces.
No, this is not a video podcast. One of us has a face for radio. I'll let you decide which one.
Cold, man. That's cold. There's a 50% chance I'm real offended right now.
Just kidding, folks. We're both average-looking fellows.
Oh, well. It's better than I was expecting.
Yeah.
But, yeah, if you have any feedback, please do let us know. You can reach out to us on any of those socials. And is that 4 or 5?
That was 4.
Wow,
4.
Okay.
I am suffering tonight. I've done so good the last few episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, please do reach out to us on any of those social media platforms. Hit us up with a comment, a like. Tell us anything. Mostly good, preferably.
All good stuff. We want to hear all of your thoughts as long as they're positive. But until next time, I'm Dan Clark.
And I'm Alex Grace.
And this has been You Skip That.
Bye-bye.
Bye.